Greetings, Jeremy Sutton here from PrecisionPrinciple.com. Today I'm filming in Bangkok, Thailand. Last week I considered the topic of the precision principle. What is it? How might we think about it? What are some of the underlying tenets? And perhaps the main idea is that precision is the underlying quality of anything done well. If this is the case, and it can actually be applied to any activity, a follow-up question I might ask is, what then, or how might we consider a life precisely lived? And of course, that's a pretty complicated question. There's so many variables that go into a life. Where do we even start? How would we even begin to conceptualize, a precise life? But I think there's some possible solutions, and if we just start to break it down and apply these ideas in the same way we would apply it to any other activity of our life. So for example, any precise whole is going to be made up of precise parts. If part of the whole is imprecise, that is going to affect the thing of which it's part. So for example, if we're trying to foster a precise writing habit, get good at writing, we might consider everything from grammar, word choice, sentence structures, outlining, the role of paragraphs, thesis, topic sentences, how chapters relate to books, how books relate to a career. We might consider some variables that aren't even related directly to writing, such as creating a writing habit. What are the steps that we can go through to make sure that we consistently produce work? How can I organize my life in a way to foster a precise writing habit, for example? And in a similar way, we can break the much larger, much more comprehensive lens of life into subparts. And of course, to actually put this into action, we'd have to break those subparts down and figure out how they work, but we could start there. So, a precise life, we can easily imagine there's going to be good mental health, physical health, have positive relationships to others, have a precise relationship to the environment, to our immediate environment, such as our room. Do we keep our room, our house organized or not? We're always looking for stuff. We could have precise skills, precise hobbies. We could think of our precision in relation to our career, to our community, to the world environment and beyond. Again, in each of these categories can be dove into further, but they, just to start, this is like the overarching things that we could conceivably increase in terms of relative precision. Unfortunately, it's a bit overwhelming to try to just say, okay, today's the day, I'm going to start fostering a precise life. Everything is new from here, we're going to turn a new leash, and here we go. Time to just take it to the next level. Well, unfortunately, that's not quite possible. It's sort of like picking up 10 juggling balls and just being like, all right, I got it, and just toss them all up in the air, and then da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, they're all going to fall to the ground. So on the other end, we might start with a single ball. Just start tossing that up and down. And we can toss it back and forth. But really, it's pretty easy to throw a single ball around. So we might add a second, or we might even add a third. See if we can't get some rhythm in these skills first before we start to add 5 or 7 or more. The best in the world, best jugglers in the world can do 9, 11, 13 balls, but let's start with 3. How's that? And life isn't just like juggling balls, because juggling happens so quickly. We move from one thing to the next. In life, if we transfer from one item to the next so suddenly, we might find that we're not really developing any of our skills very thoroughly. A metaphor a friend of mine once told me a few years ago, shout out Noel, is that life is a little bit like elementary science class. We can imagine going into school and there is a science project. We all have the model universe day and we have to make one of our own. Some people come in and this thing's barely held together. It's got glue and toothpicks, and the men, they're lucky that it even made it to school. Some have a nice little setup and it's look a little bit more coherent, and every once in a while you see someone who comes in and they'll get it in just this right order where they can push it around and all the planets move with each other. All you gotta do is give a little bit of effort to this one, and they will all go around, and sometimes you could even get it so precisely aligned that someone finds a trick that, hey, if you just get it set up just like this, you give it a click, and all of a sudden it just kind of operates itself. And That's kind of like what we would like to do when we're developing habits, when we're developing efficient and precise relationships to the different areas of our life. We're probably going to have to return to the model and keep it going every once in a while, but if we can work to a level that it is self-maintaining for a while, then we can keep that going, spend some time on another model, spend some time on another model. So instead of juggling balls, we're kind of switching between these different areas of our life and trying to get them set up in a way that they can maintain themselves so that they don't require our constant attention just to keep them going. And fortunately, when it comes to considering precise life, there are already quite a few models that have tried to do this through the ages. I mean, this is definitely there's nothing new under the sun, and this is, if anything, it's a synthesis of other ideas rather than a completely new paradigm that I'm just pulling out of my head. It's everyone else has already had these ideas in one way or another. I'm just trying to bring them together. So, for example, integral theory is a model. The 8 branches of yoga is a model that helps we can use to reflect on life. Maslow's hierarchy. These are all ideas that lenses that we can kind of upload into the system, use them as tools to reflect on our own life, and then we can kind of analyze what's going well, what's not going well, where we might improve, and then with some other tools like critical thinking, creative thinking, strategic thinking, we might actually start to foster plans that allow us to achieve these goals, and we might have a realistic understanding of where we might go from here. And so these are all part of the plan. Hopefully I'll be able to get through some of these items over the next couple weeks. It's important to remember that the key to this game of a precise life is definitely in taking the long route. It's anyone trying to take too many shortcuts is pretty much going to find themselves pretty close to where they started, because you're always taking shortcuts, you're not really going that far. So it's a longer game than we often like to think. Everybody wants to just get better tomorrow. I want to be able to play that song this afternoon. I want to be able to write a book today. I wish it was already made. If it was, I want to already be in shape. I don't want to actually do the work to get in shape. So we tend to try to find the fast way. I think that's a lot of the life hacking movement that comes on now. They focus on sometimes these really, really small aspects, trying to cut these little corners just to get there, when maybe they're often very helpful. I think some of these things are legitimately useful to add to our lives, but nothing's going to beat a large, wide-scale understanding of what we're trying to do, and strategic, consistent practice that's going to move us towards those goals. I mean, that is a tried and true formula for success. It's been happening for centuries, millennia, probably since before history, and I imagine it will be timeless advice all into the future. So let's keep applying what we already know, and let's see what we can do. At the moment, speaking of staying focused on a narrow range of goals, my personal goals at the moment are physical and mental health. With my physical health, I am a fan of strength training, cardiovascular, and flexibility. I think that's like the trifecta of physical health. Mental health, for me, it includes learning and things like meditation, focusing on my diet. Doesn't help to do any sort of physical training if you're not thinking about what you're eating as well. My relationship to my beautiful fiance, I just got engaged recently, so definitely trying to make that happen and just be a real smooth and awesome relationship as much as possible. My hobbies, I'm working on writing, clearly video editing, and learning how this whole YouTube shtick works. And then pool. I'm a sucker for some billiards, so you got to have some fun along the way. Well, in the meantime, thank you for joining me here. I'd definitely love to hear about your life. What's going on? What are your points of focus? Feel free to comment below, and let's get a little chat going where, let's see what everyone's focusing on. Let's see if there are areas that we can work on together. Maybe we can share some tips. Maybe we can share some strategies. What works for you? What doesn't work? And where might we go from here? So in the meantime, thank you for stopping by. Keep learning, keep growing. Take care.